Value proposition is a very simple statement where you kind of say, who is going to be my target customer or who is going to be my target customer segment? Yeah. Pardon me. So you can't just say, well, the whole world will buy it. No, you need to know exactly who will be interested in this product or service concept. So that's the target customer. And then you need to clearly say how much value will your product or your service concept deliver to the customer? Meaning, how much faster can they do some operations? How much more reliable will they be? How much cost will they save? How much more revenues would they be able to generate because of your innovation, your product, or your service that you're offering? So you got to get very concrete with the benefits that you're going to be offering, or the cost reduction, or the risk reduction, or the new things that your product will help them do very clearly. Because if you can't state that very clearly, then the target customer will just not buy. They will not be interested. Yeah. So those two things are critical. Who's the target customer? What is the very specific benefit or cost reduction or risk reduction or new activity that your product will deliver? And then the third part of this is, who is their next best alternative? Meaning, right now, they are doing something. So you have to compare what your product or service will help them do versus what they're doing currently, or versus the next best alternative they have. Because that's how the customer is going to look at your innovation. How much better, how much better is the innovation relative to what they're already doing or they could be doing? So that's very critical. And then one last part over here is customers will want to know, what is the proof? What is the proof point? Why should they believe you that your product or your service can do a better job than the next best alternative for them? And here you have to have some data, some use cases, some endorsements perhaps. So you have to have some basis on which the customers will say, okay, this one actually is not fluff, it's real. So that's kind of what I would suggest. Start with a germ of an idea. It's a very fuzzy process. You iterate between coming up with ideas and checking their validity with actual customers, not vague general customers. Keep modifying your ideas, keep checking until you think you've come up with something. It may be something that you come up with. It may be something that the customer asks you for. It may be a combination of the two, but finally you come up with something and you crystallize it in a value proposition that states four things. Number one, who is the target customer? Number two, what is the key value that you offer? One or two things, not too many. One or two key value that you will offer relative to the next best alternative. And then the last part is, why should the customer believe you? What proof do you have that the value that you're proposing will in fact deliver value to the customer? So I'd say, yeah, go ahead.
I would like to just ask you, and for a little bit, just to refer about that value proposition and the value perspective of that value. So a lot of times, companies, startups specify that value from their own perspective. How important is it to actually specify that value proposition and what you bring to the customer from the customer's perspective? So I would say how important it is and why.
Yeah, I think that's the whole ball game. There is no point specifying the value that you think there is in your product. No, you have to specify it from the customer's perspective. How much value will the customer see in your product or service? And that's the reason why we come up with the value proposition, the first thing we state is who is the target customer and will they see the value that you are proposing, or will they not see the value that you're proposing? So actually, this value proposition, let me frame it as a statement that may make this point a little bit clearer, the one that you're asking, Philip. So the value proposition would be filling in four blanks. So it would be something like XYZ customers, that's your target, whoever the XYZ is. XYZ customers will prefer to buy my innovation, the product or service, over blank ABC competitors, which is the next best alternative they have. Could be what they're doing right now, could be uh, something else they could purchase to do. So they'll prefer to buy my innovation over ABC competitor uh, because we offer one or two values like PQR, that's the value, higher reliability, lower cost, lower risk, new activity, whatever. What's that value? One or two things. We are as evidenced by some case studies or data or endorsements. So if that one statement you can fill out, it's an it's a very simple statement, but it's a very powerful statement. And it injects the customer perspective in there because now you're forced to think about the target customer rather than just think about your own product or your own service, how cool it is, and how much value it offers. Nobody cares. What matters is what the customer cares. And that's why when you write it down as a value proposition with those four parts, the first thing is who is the customer? And if you haven't specified that, then nothing makes sense.